Hey guys, Otto here from Acquisition Partner. Now in today's video guys, what we're going to go through is a bit of a deep dive into the SaaS business model and specifically how the SaaS business model can be leveraged by yourself if you are running a social media marketing agency, or even if you are a consultant or a coach. Basically, if you're somebody that provides an online service, what this deep dive is going to do is actually help pinpoint specifically the issues that you are probably facing right now in terms of lack of cash flow, lack of monthly recurring revenue, and lack of clients. And we're going to apply the business principles of successful SaaS companies and how you can actually implement those into your social media marketing agency now, so that you can actually reduce operational load and do less of your service delivery, charge more money for what you do, get paid up front, and thereby have much greater profit margins. Okay, so we're going to start off here by looking at business objectives of SaaS companies and how they apply to marketing agencies. We're going to talk about a SaaS kind of business principle here called the cash gap that we're going to go into great detail, talk a bit about a well-balanced business and what that actually looks like in terms of the relationship between your cost of customer acquisition and your lifetime value and monetization strategy for the clients that you have now or you're trying to onboard. We're going to look a little bit at the SaaS growth timeline and how that applies to marketing agencies, as well as the core reasons that are contributing to the cash gap, how to overcome those, and then a little bit on churn too. All right, so we're going to run through this as quickly as possible. I'm going to minimize my face here, but like I say, watch to the end of the video if you have a marketing agency, if you are a consultant, or if you just offer any sort of service online. You're going to want to watch this because it's going to really help you create economies of scale, increase your profit margins, and simply get better paying customers. All right, so the first things first, what we need to look at is actually what is the business objective of a SaaS company, indeed of a social media marketing agency or an SEO company, whatever you run. Okay, so there's three core kind of pillars that underpin your top level business objectives, and these are profit, cash, and growth. Okay, so in the SaaS timeline and SaaS kind of product roadmap, they focus on profit first, then they focus on cash, and then after that they follow up with a focus on growth. Okay, now arguably if you're running a social media marketing agency, really what you need to focus on first is cash. You can then kind of move into growth once you've established a good profit margin, but if you don't have cash, then you're not going to be able to run your business. Okay, and this really leads on to this phenomena here and this issue in SaaS companies called the cash flow gap. Okay, so when anybody starts a new company, and indeed a SaaS company, there's going to be a period of time where monthly recurring revenue is non-existent to very, very low, but alongside that and at the same time, expenses are also going to be high, and expenses can either be increasing or fixed. All right, so if you're starting a SaaS company specifically, there are going to be expenses incurred with the cost of actually building the product and the software and the tool out, not least hiring people and injecting cash into marketing and your sales efforts too. And whilst you are doing that, the months are going by along the x-axis here. The months are going along, sequentially, and as time progresses, depending on how successful your offer is and actually the resource that you're building is and how valuable and how much of a need there is for it, the time is going to go on and your monthly recurring revenue is only going to grow slightly, if that. Okay, so if you don't have a good offer, you don't have a service with good product market fit, then you're not going to make any monthly recurring revenue, and your expenses are going to continue to be incurred. Okay, so the delta between your expenses payouts and the lack of monthly recurring revenue you have is actually called the cash gap. Now, with a lot of agency owners who are starting out their journey, this period of time is a period of time where you are particularly vulnerable. Okay, so when you're starting out on your business, endeavors, you've just launched your agency, you're going to be going through a process of focusing on actions that aren't necessarily what are pushing the needle in terms of monetization and actually bringing cash into the business. So you're going to have to be, building out landing pages and setting up social media profiles and reaching out to potential new clients and things like that. And the longer that this goes on, the harder it's going to become to actually stay committed and motivated to your end goal. Okay, so particularly when you're first starting out, you've got no proof of concept, you haven't got any wins or successes to date, and you're basically going to go through this period, the first few months at least. And we speak to individuals on our acquisition partner program calls every single day who are still in this kind of cash gap period of time, and they are 6 months, 8 months, 12 months plus into their journey, and they still haven't got a client, and they still haven't generated any sort of monthly recurring revenue. Okay, so like I say, this is a dangerous position to be in, and what we want to do and what we're going to help you do in this video is exit that state immediately. Okay, so we're going to give you some practical tools and strategies that you can deploy right here, right now, in order to get out of the cash gap and actually start earning money, and more money than you're spending. Okay, and particularly the expenses, cost here or variable here is particularly interesting for new agency owners, because you might not necessarily have big, fixed and variable costs incurred as a result of starting and launching the business. You might have a free landing page, you might use Google Documents, whatever it might be, a free Gmail account, but the expenses here that you need to consider are your monthly living expenses. So you might be living at home with your parents and not paying rent, which is fortunate or unfortunate for you, if depending how you look at it, or you might have a family that you've got pressure to feed and provide shelter and food for, and clothing for. So the period of time here of the cash gap is something that you want to keep to an absolute minimum. Okay, and what this really comes down to is really the perspective of what a well-balanced business looks like. Okay, and a well-balanced business is one where your customer acquisition costs, so the costs that you incur from sourcing, negotiating with and closing and bringing on board a new customer, has to be even and equal to the lifetime value of that customer and your monetization strategy. Okay, and the things here that you can see contribute to the difference and the sort of imbalance with this relationship here can be seen as such. Okay, so customer acquisition costs can be kept down through harnessing viral effects. Okay, so producing content, making sure that your content strategy is on point, and perhaps you have videos or titles that end up getting a lot of traction or go viral. Customer acquisition costs can be also kept down through inbound efforts. So if you're producing content, creating a system where you can actually capture top of funnel leads and then convert them through your sales process. You can provide freemium, membership and free trials, access, things like that, which is what a lot of SaaS companies do to keep their cost of acquiring new customers low. It's a lot easier to get a customer into a tool or a product that costs $100 a month or $300 a month, whatever it might be, by providing a 7 to 14 day free trial. Okay, so a lot of you guys will be using High Level or other tools instantly, similar tools to that. And the reason that you're probably still using those tools is namely because they're a good tool, but you're able to actually deploy them and learn them and use them for your business for free. Okay, so with the freemium version with free trials, it enables your customers and your clients to kind of have some skin in the game. If a client gets onto your platform and uses your service for free, and then invests a lot of their time and resources, because of the sunk cost fallacy, they are going to have a lot of pressure on them to retain that tool and to carry on getting better at using it, as opposed to switching. All right. A lot of this also comes down to touchless conversions. So if you have a funnel or a low ticket item or a low ticket service or product, if your funnel is basically touchless, it runs whilst you sleep, you're selling an ebook for $7 or whatever it might be, you don't actually have to have a consultative sales process, then that's a way that you can keep your customer acquisition cost low. Inside sales too links into inbound. So if you've got yourself doing the sales, conducting sales calls, things like that, it's going to help keep your costs low. And then partnerships too can also help with keeping your cost of acquisition low. Okay, so what ramps these costs up is simply field sales, outbound sales, and outbound marketing. So if you are bringing on new outbound sales reps or cold callers or appointment setters, things like that, unless they are on a commission only or an appointment booking, success kind of fee basis, then this is going to cost you more to acquire new customers, right? So the way that you keep your lifetime value and monetization high of the service that you're offering is through having scalable pricing. So not having flexible pricing, having pricing that is clear cut, black and white, very simple to deploy. You're going to also have to have a number of cross sells and upsells. So if you have a core product, service or offering, you're going to have a way to underpin that service too, left, right, up and down, so that at any stage that the customer or client is looking to take things in-house or go with another provider, you've got other solutions that can help solve their pain points too, which thereby keeps them in your pricing ecosystem for longer. All right, product line expansion and lead gen too. So product line expansion or service expansion, instead of offering one key service, Facebook ads for example, to a retained client, you actually reverse engineer specifically what their pain points are from a holistic point of view, and then you bring in additional services to help cross and upsell them onto. All right, so that's what a well-balanced business looks like. And just finally here, what keeps lifetime value of your new customers and clients low, what keeps your monetization efforts underperforming, is high churn, which is indeed underpinned by low customer satisfaction. Okay, we're going to talk about how damaging high churn rates can actually be to your business just in a minute here. All right, so really what this follows is the SaaS growth timeline. All right, and this is a top level kind of useful analysis that you can apply to your social media marketing agency too, to get a better idea of what task you really should be focusing on at what specific time of your journey. Okay, so first things first, SaaS companies will look for product market fit, so they'll do a lot of research and development. They will go out to potential new customers, conduct their own primary research into how valuable their product and their software and tool actually is. Okay, so this constitutes a large part of the process, which also adds to the cash gap. Okay, so the longer you spend in product market fit and getting that secured and understood, the longer the period of time you're going to have to spend in the cash gap. Okay, so you're not necessarily selling memberships, making money whilst you figure this out. Okay, the next step here is to actually find a repeatable, scalable sales model. So a lot of SaaS companies, they'll be relying on freemium models, things like that, free trials, and they won't actually be making any consistent monthly recurring revenue yet. So the next stage, once they've got a good product, once they've got the tool built, is to find and commit to a sales model that actually scales. Okay, and then the final part here is about scaling in terms of general scaling elements of the business, hiring, recruiting, building out systems, access to capital, things like that. So really, these balancing items are important because they're going to help you understand what's blocking your route to growth. Okay, so oftentimes with a SaaS company or applying this to the marketing agency model, there's going to be two elements that are going to really affect your growth rate. Okay, and the first one is lead growth rate. The second one is hiring growth rate. Okay, so start with the latter. If you're not able to find qualified staff members, train them, and hire them quickly, then it's going to dramatically affect your growth rates and expansion sort of capabilities. If you've got a good product and service with good product market fit, customers are enjoying it and using it and have great utility from it, but you're actually not able to employ the staff to underpin that service. Okay, that's going to block your growth. And now the former item here, lead growth rate. Okay, so if your lead growth rate is low, this is also going to block your growth. Okay, so what typically this is referring to is when each lead source is maxed out. So perhaps you've got one lead source that you rely on, you've got an email list or a Facebook group or a YouTube channel, whatever it might be. You find that you're actually you're kind of in a period of maxing out that lead source. And then the process of finding and committing to and adding new lead sources therein by will actually increase your payment that you're having to spend to acquire each new lead. Okay, so these two items can block your growth, and it's important to know to understand the relationship between these two because they really underpin this kind of self-fulfilling prophecy here, which is keeping you within the cash gap. All right, so what keeps you in this this no man's land where you're not earning enough money, you're spending too much, like I say, maybe it's on rent, whatever it might be. These are the items that keep you in that kind of paralysis phase. Okay, so things like high overheads, not knowing where to spend your money, or indeed overspending. So maybe you're a single founder, you've just launched your social media marketing agency, whatever it might be, and you're spending money in the wrong places. You're paying for tools, or you're paying for office furniture or a new desk chair, whatever it might be, whereas that money should actually be contributed to the cost of acquiring new customers, which will in turn generate more monthly recurring revenue for you. Okay, high overheads links in with this similarly. Maybe you're living somewhere you can't afford the rent, you're spending too much on alcohol, partying, going out, other hobbies, whatever it might be. So cutting down on these two items are going to dramatically reduce the time that you spend within the cash gap. Okay, underestimating expenses too. So maybe you didn't underestimate the not only the financial cost, but actually the opportunity cost and the cost of all of your time and the resources that it takes to actually onboard new clients, or any other managing any other element of the business too. Underestimating those expenses can create a really bad negative knock-on effect for your monthly recurring revenue growth. Okay, the other issue here is perhaps you're being too flexible. So if you're creating bespoke proposals for marketing clients and you have a pricing model in mind, maybe it's $4,000 per month on a 90-day basis or 6-month basis, and every single time you're being too flexible, This in turn is going to add increased operational load and administrative stress onto you and your team, because you're switching up, the pricing model of your business, quite frankly, at every sort of twist and turn. But it's also going to make it hard to, pitch, sell, close new clients and onboard them efficiently. All right. You might also have a deal with it later mindset when it comes to finances. So you might be thinking, I'll pay for this tool, or I'll spend thousands on ads, or I'll buy this furniture, or, I'll spend $5,000 for a new website, whatever it might be. And you're putting that onto your future self to deal with. Okay. So this is something that can be critically damaging to your business whilst you're in that cash gap phase. And then here, miscalculating your customer acquisition cost progressions, and also your timeline to profit is something too that's going to really affect you during this period of time. Okay, so if you have the expectations that it's easy, quick, simple, and cheap to acquire new customers, and that you're going to turn a profit in 3 days, when you get 6 days deep, 30, 60, 90, 120 days deep into that process, and you've had no traction, it's going to increase your likelihood of quitting. Okay, so you want to make sure that all of these are aligned. In order so that you can get out of this period of time as quickly as possible. And this is specifically what SaaS companies do. Okay, so the reason that we've identified and pinpointed these is because specifically SaaS companies who are building softwares and tools out to go out to specific segments of the market, they will look at all of these core components here to get an idea of where they're kind of underperforming and where they need to focus on. All right. So the way that you solve this kind of negative self-fulfilling prophecy, and the way that you get out of the cash gap and actually into the territory of making money, is by looking for ways specifically to get customers to pay now. Okay. So if you can get a customer to pay right here, right now for your service. Now, SaaS companies that will charge $30 a month will provide you would have seen it, I'm sure, a lifetime membership or 12 months worth of membership up front. And the reason that they're able to do this and why they do this is because they can get an immediate cash injection into their business that they can parlay and kind of repurpose into their scaling sort of strategy, and at the same time they can actually still afford to do that whilst giving massive discounts to their new customers. Okay, so it offers value on the front end for the new customers. It entices them, it makes it cheaper to acquire them, and also as a secondary effect, the business actually gets an injection of cash early days up front. Okay, so the way that you do this specifically, all right, so these are 4 core fundamental ways that you can do this that I recommend doing if you're running a SaaS company or you've got an agency or you're a consultant. Okay, so the first way is to close more high ticket deals faster. Okay, so the way that you can get paid upfront and have more money and cash collected in your bank account is by going after deals that are high ticket and that are worth a lot more money. Okay, it sounds simple, but a lot of people won't do it. And the way that the agency space is at the moment is a complete and utter total race to the bottom, where people are struggling to compete with 100 million other potential agency owners, people wanting to start a business, and then they start to have to compete on their price and their price alone. So they say, our service is just as good as XYZ agency, or we do Facebook ads, or we'll book 30 to 90 calls a month, or your money back, whatever it might be. They are not able to compete on their offer and the service that they actually deliver. They're not able to compete on their money back guarantee or their various other risk reversal strategies that they've got on offer. So the only way that they can compete is on price, and what that leads to is them eroding and reducing their price further and further and further until they get to the point where they don't have a price and they don't have a service and they don't have a business. Okay, so you have to find high ticket deals. You have to go after these quicker and partner with clients who can actually afford to pay you. All right. By doing this, what you're going to be able to do is make your revenue projection more predictable. Okay, so if you know that you, from X number of potential high ticket prospective clients leads that you have, that you're able to close at, whatever 75% close rate, you're going to know exactly at a granular level how many leads you need to go after every single day, how many book calls you need to do, how many of those calls they actually have to show, so their show rates, and then also, how high your conversion rate needs to be in order to guarantee these new high ticket deals. All right, so that's a way that you can make revenue more predictable. It's something you have to tie in with your high ticket client kind of acquisition strategy. The other thing that you can do here is increase your conversions and your customer pool size. All right, so maybe you have a program or an agency offer, whatever it might be. It might be that you actually need to focus on increasing your conversion rate. So look at what you're doing. Look at either yourself or your sales team's sales calls and actually help them better convert on those calls. And it might also be that you need to increase your customer pool size. All right, so we all know that riches are in the niches, or the niches, as we say in England. But what you might find here, if you're struggling to generate monthly recurring revenue, actually opening your customer pool size slightly wider can be something that can really help you tap into areas and verticals and potential client pools that you've not actually explored yet. Okay, so this might be as simple as, you might offer, I don't know, Facebook ads for health med spas or whatever it might be. Just zooming out slightly to the healthcare vertical is something that's going to add in a load of different sort of avenues and veins of gold that you can tap into. All right, and what these components here are going to do, like I say, is give you more immediate access to cash. Okay, if you can't implement these immediately or indeed alongside these, what you will need to do is try and find a way to be resourceful and to source financing and cash flow opportunities. Okay, so it might be that you need to source credit through PayPal credit, or you might have to go with another provider or get a government-backed loan or a startup loan, whatever it might be. There are a number of different resources out there that you can harness for your own financial security, okay, whilst you build out your business, your SaaS, whatever you're building. All right, so here's what you need to do. All right, if you're running an agency or you're building out a SaaS, here's what you need to do to solve the cash gap. All right, so the first things first, you have to focus on sales. Okay, if you don't focus on sales, you can't get customers or clients, and if you don't have customers or clients, you don't have money. All right, if you don't have money, you do not have a business. Okay, so you're not running a charity, you're not doing this as a hobby or doing it for fun solely. You have to be making money. All right, if you have a business, if you are an entrepreneur, money is what makes your world go around. Okay, you can be as altruistic or mission driven as you need to be, but if you aren't making money, then your longevity in this game is going to be short lived. All right, the best way to get cash injected into the business and that immediate access that we talked about here is to go high ticket. Okay, so instead of focusing on deals that are $1,000 a month or $2,500 a month, you need to be going after clients who can happily, comfortably, and easily pay you over $100,000 every single year when they are asking you for contracts of 12 to 24 months. Okay, so you need to find those clients. And it's something we do in the Acquisition Partner Program if you're interested in checking that out. All right, so once you get these clients, you need to get payment up front. Okay, and the way that you can get payment up front is through a number of different pricing mechanisms. We actually have a number of different mechanisms that we talk about just in a couple of moments here that you can help harness for your agency. All right, so in getting payment up front, you're going to have cash in the bank. What you need to focus on next is negating churn. Okay, so you need to get your business to a point where you have negative churn, ideally. Okay, so having that as a North Star is a good metric. Can you ever achieve that? The answer is no, because over a long enough time period, clients will eventually leave you, okay? Unless you're going to be in the game for 100 years and the client's going to be with you for 100 years too, it's going to be very difficult to actually have a negative churn rate. But what's important and what you need to kind of understand is how damaging churn can actually be to your business. Now, SaaS companies kind of hold as a gold mark standard for churn being between 1 to 2.5%. Anything more than that suggests that you've got a leaky bucket and you need to plug the gaps somewhere along your customer acquisition journey. Okay, so looking at customer lifetime value. All right, if you have a customer, if you have a SaaS or an agency and an offer, and you've got a 1% churn rate, you might have the lifetime value of that customer client might be $100,000. Okay, if that churn rate doubles to 2% and it increases to 2% there, you're cutting your lifetime value by 50%. So that 100K a year customer has now become 50K. If you then double and a bit more, that churn rate once more to 5%, that initial client that was worth over $100,000 has now become over $20,000. Okay, and that's simply because your churn rate is high. All right, so this is why it's so important to plug those leaky gaps and focus on retaining customers. Now, the way that you do that is by really prioritizing customer satisfaction. You can help hedge your kind of risk here and against the negative implications of a high churn rate by expanding, so adding more products or services into your line, and then getting those products and services in front of the right clients and customers at the right time by cross-selling and upselling them. All right, so that's the way that you are able to overcome the issue of churn and the cash gap in your agency or your SaaS company. All right, and really what this comes down to is the typical genesis of any given agency or SaaS business. All right, so we start out with the traditional model of an agency owner thinking, I want to start a business and I'm going to go after clients and charge them $500 a month, and then a $500 Facebook ad spend or whatever it might be. And what they're finding is that churn rates are well above 5%. They can't find clients that pay them, on time and for high ticket enough contract values. They can't actually generate any sort of consistent cash flow. They can't secure a risk-free projected cash flow timeline, and really they get to the point where they're just inevitably operating within that cash gap. All right, so as you graduate through the agency genesis, what we highly recommend is going from the traditional agency model to a productized leverage model. Now, we've got a video that I'll link below about how we were actually able to productize our email marketing agency. There's a number of ways you can do this by leveraging build and release offers, offering one single product where you're able to actually get clear feedback and iterate on that for a greater customer satisfaction score for all of your new customers. And then also using all of that data in order to create new products and services that you can cross-sell and upsell. All right, so hopefully, guys, this has given you just a really detailed look at how SaaS companies are founded. It's going to help give you an idea of what your business objectives need to be right now and how you can actually make sure that you're focusing on generating monthly recurring revenue, keeping your expenses low, and getting yourself out of the cash gap. All right, guys, so a lot of what we do here, we help all of our acquisition partner program members achieve in the 90-day accelerator that we work with them in. If you're not an established agency or you have absolutely no experience in this realm, we've also got a 31 plus free module course that you can take. We don't do online courses here at Acquisition Partners, so we're not going to sell you anything like that, but we do have over 31 modules that are going to help you find and close your first 100K client within 5 days. So check that out too, and we've got a lot of free value that we're contributing to in the Discord server as well. All right, guys, so watch this video over again, take notes, drop any comments you have in the comments below, and I'll catch you in the next one. All right, cheers.